All right, we should be live. Welcome back to Flowless Sports and another week of game week prediction and fantasy football Premier League tips. We're now live. If you're joining us in, please put in the chat and say hello, and I will respond to any questions you might have regarding fantasy. Put your predictions for the matches below as we take along. And exciting. So we'll dive right into it. We'll start with the roundup and then go over this week's matches and some fantasy tips. So say hello in the chat if you're around, and looking forward to another fun session. Last time was really fun. So we'll dive right into it and look at last week's roundup. So now we had Priyam and myself who predicted last week's scores, and very interesting week. So we'll go through each match and see what we predicted and how we actually went out. So Villa Everton finished 2-1. Priyam actually got it bang on at 2-1, and I predicted 1-0, so we both got the right outcome, but Priyam actually got it correct. And I predicted Digne and Bailey to be the people to watch from a fantasy standpoint, and you know what, they're probably the most sold players this week. So I apologize for that howler. Digne, I think fire sale, he dropped to 4.9. Bailey dropped to 4.9. It's just painful to see. He's stuck in my team, but that sucked. Villa seemed tough. I don't know what they're doing formation wise, what's going to be going ahead, but good result for them at least. Good goal from Mings as well. Arsenal Leicester 4-2. Great game for Arsenal fans. We both predicted the correct result. Didn't predict the scoreline correct, but we both. And I tipped Maddison and Martinelli to both score. They did. Maddison's actually I think he's a good asset. I think Leicester are a bad team, but they're playing really well. And I think Maddison's going to score a lot of goals. He's going to tick along. So something as a differential you might want to look at. Brighton Newcastle 0-0. We predicted it to be a low scoring game. Ended up no goals. None of us got the predictions correct. That was that game from a fantasy standpoint as well. Just clean sheets for Trippier and the like if you had them. Man City Bournemouth. We all know the pain of Haaland. Only an assist. Everyone captained him, so that sucked. From this standpoint, I was actually looking at Cancelo. And whoever tuned in last podcast knows, I was actually looking at him in the wrong way. I was seeing if he doesn't play too well, but he scored 11 points and that hurt. But we both predicted correct outcomes. Priyam actually got it bang on again. I think Priyam, you should be doing this instead of me, getting it 4-0 on the dot. The next game was Southampton Leeds 2-2. Priyam bang on again, getting the correct scoreline. I actually tipped Leeds to win, but Southampton actually came back with the beautiful ball from the new player, I forget his name, and to Kyle Walker-Peters, who I did tip all of you to get in your teams. He's very attacking, as I said, and he's a player to watch out. So wrong outcomes from me and correct bang on outcome from Priyam. And this is where the downfall starts instead of prediction. So I'll just talk from a fantasy standpoint and game point. Wolves Fulham, Mitrovic missing a penalty, Neto missing 2 open chances. That was just hurtful. I know a lot of people have Neto. That was just hurtful to watch. I don't know if he will return anymore. I think he's out of my team very, very soon. Brentford United, I will not talk much. We all know what's happened. What a game to watch as a United hater. And I did say in the last podcast as well, if I was a United fan, I would be afraid from set pieces, and that did let them down. We also the Ben Mee goal that Martinez couldn't handle. And I tipped Da Silva to score, and he did score, which was nice to see. And then we had Forest versus West Ham. Totally, I wouldn't say unexpected, but from a general fan point, it was unexpected. But I did say, it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. They're back at Forest after 23 years. It was amazing. West Ham were unlucky. They were really unlucky. I think they had a lot of chances. Rice missed the penalty as well. So as a West Ham fan, that sucked. But as a Forest person, that was amazing to see. Winning 1-0 in the first home game after 23 years. That must be an amazing feeling. Chelsea Tottenham. The pay-per-view WWE. Tuchel versus Conte was something to see. I think Tuchel and Conte have both... No, Tuchel got a suspension now. Conte's been fined. So I don't agree with that, but that's been interesting. Let me know in the comments what you think about that suspension. I think it's football, it's part of it. It's fun to be heated. As fans, we all enjoyed that, I'm sure. All the memes and Conte posting on Instagram, that was good to see. But 2-2. None of us predicted a draw. Priyam could have got it bang on had it not been for the last minute header from Kane. I know in this game, I think Richarlison, when he came on, looked really, really good. So it'll be interesting to see if Richarlison comes on and, shares more minutes with Kane, Son, and Kulu. From a fantasy standpoint, that'll be interesting to see. And Liverpool Palace, another funny game to watch. Mr. Nunes headbutt. I actually tipped him as a player to watch. I said, Firmino's done at Liverpool last podcast, but that didn't come along. On the other side, I did tip Zaha to score against Liverpool, and that did happen. So that was nice to see. Me and Priyam, again, got the outcomes wrong here. And so I'll have an overall ticker that every week we'll collect scores and see what our predicted outcomes were, how many correct scores and correct outcomes we have. So Priyam got 4 out of 10 bang on, which is impressive. I got 0 correct scores. Sorry, Priyam got 3 correct scores, I got 0 correct scores, and we both got a few more correct outcomes. But that's nice to see. All right, we will get into this week's predictions, and I'm excited for this week as well. It's Premier League this year just feels so much nicer. I feel I'm so excited for every week. But the first match. Oh, by the way, let me know how you like my graphics. If you think it's better than before, try to put some extra effort in there. But yes, so we actually do have a new predictor, another fellow podcast member, Mr. Unmesh. So we have 3 predictors this time. We'll see how we fare next time when we do the roundup and see if there's contrasting opinions. But Spurs versus Wolves, the early kickoff tomorrow. Priyam predicted 3-1 win, Unmesh predicted 3-0, which I think everyone would be expecting. Spurs are playing well. But I actually predicted 2-2, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 2-1 to Wolves. Hear me out. The last time that they met in Feb, Wolves beat Spurs 2-0 away from home, and they actually have a great track record against the top 9 last season. And Wolves have always been the team to upset Spurs, so I'm actually tipping this to be this upset of the weekend and Wolves to actually beat Spurs. I know I said, Spurs to beat Chelsea 2-0 and I was backing them, but I think this might be the game they lose and Spurs become Spurs again. So I'm sure if Raji or anyone's in the chat, they'd love to hear that. They lost Romero, that's their main defender, and Dyer and Davies just looked abysmal trying to handle Chelsea without a centre forward. And again, Wolves is a team without an actual centre forward. They're missing Jimenez, as we all know. So I think they might have a struggle actually holding off the Wolves attack. We all know that Wolves have a great XG, and who knows, this might be the match where they convert it. So I'm actually backing Wolves to score here and to finish the game 2-2. So I know a lot of people have Spurs players, but hashtag never back the early kickoff. From a fantasy standpoint, Perisic, of course, the main talking point. A lot of people were looking at him. He's predicted to start from a lot of experts. Will be interesting to see how he plays, if he starts, if he gets rotated with Sessegnon. He's big owned, he's pretty cheap, very attacking, so that'll be interesting to see. And Kulusevski as well. I think, again, Kane's going to play an architect role in this one. That's my assumption, trying to break down the Wolves attack. So I think Kulu and Son will be up front again. Will be interesting to see how he plays. From a Wolves point of view, Mr. Fraud, for me now, Mr. Neto. He had good open chances last time. Maybe he comes good in this game. And Ait Nouri, again, I tipped him last week. I think he's going to tick along well. So, those are my players to watch from a fantasy standpoint, specifically putting a highlight on Perisic. But, what do you think the score of Tottenham versus Wolves will be? Do you back me? Do you think Wolves are going to come back? Or do you think it's going to be just a dreadful show from Wolves and Spurs to put it down early? Let me know below. Awesome. The next match of the week is Palace versus Aston Villa. So, the predictions we have here. Priyam is saying 2-1 to Palace, Unmesh saying 2-0 to Palace, and I am saying 1-1. On paper, this match might not sound that enticing, but what if I told you that in the last 6 meetings between these two teams, there have been 35 cards, 32 yellow cards, and 3 red cards in the last 6 games between these two. So it's going to be a feisty match. It's going to be one to watch. I think it's going to be crazy on the field. Definitely might be a game to watch, if you're tuning in tomorrow. And Villa, I don't know what to expect from Villa. I think that's why this is a tough one to predict. They're missing, I think Coutinho's injured now. They have another defender, Carlos, who's injured. They're going to have some problems in the back. Digne is just, I don't know what he's doing, but he might play well. So you don't know what to expect, from a result standpoint, how they're going to play. From a formation standpoint, it's also difficult to know whether they're going to play the diamond with, Buendia, Ings, and Watkins, or they're going to play Bailey. And, last week I was backing Bailey, I was backing Digne. They both didn't play. Bailey started from the bench. Everyone's selling him now. From a fantasy standpoint, honestly, I would just sell all your Villa assets until you can see some sort of consistency and we have a better sample size of data. From a fantasy standpoint, I'm actually I mix them up the way they're fixing, but Ings and Buendia from Villa. I think Ings had a good game, and Buendia, if Coutinho is injured, will, I think, get more minutes, and he's a really good player. He's really cheap. Look into him. And From Palace, I think Zaha's playing really, really well this season. I think come wildcard, everyone's going to have him in the teams. So Zaha is a player to watch out for. And Eze is 5.5. I think everyone's looking for a Neto Bailey replacement. He might be one to watch out for. So I would say definitely look for Eze. And yeah, that's about Palace and Villa. On to the next game. You know, in past seasons, like if you told me Everton versus Forest, it would sound so boring. I would not even be that interested in this game. But that's what I'm saying. Like this season, I feel like there's a lot of fun in Premier League, and it's just more exciting. Every game's more exciting. But yeah, this one's interesting. We have a couple of different outcomes. Priyam has predicted 2-2 draw, Unmesh 1-1 draw, and myself a 1-0 win to Everton. Now I know Forest did well. I know Forest won against West Ham at home. But I think that's the crowd backing. I think they're not going to be able to replicate that every week. So Goodison Park's a really tough place to play. And, you know, they were, like Forest away last game, they were scrappy. Like in the first match week, they were really scrappy. I think that might be the case here again. That being said, Everton do not have a proper striker. So I don't know where the goal will come from necessarily. Gray, Gordon, and the like are having a slow start. They're not able to score. But I still think they might score one. Again, if you bet, I think I would bet that this game's going to be less than 2.5 goals. I don't think there's going to be much goals in it. Again, Everton getting reinforcements at the back. But yeah, I think honestly this game I'm saying 1-0 just because of the home advantage. I think Goodison Park's going to be tough for Forest to come and win at. From a fantasy standpoint, again, as I'm backing them to score one goal, I'm going to say Gray or Gordon. I think the goal's going to come through them if anything. And from Forest standpoint, Mr. Dennis is back in the Premier League. We all know he had a double game week. A lot of us captained him. He flopped. So he's an iconic fantasy player. So I think he might come on and he might play a few minutes. So he'll be nice to watch. He's back. So definitely whoever missed him in the Premier League, he's back for you. And Neco Williams had a fantastic game last week. So that was great. I think Neco Williams 4.0. Start him this week if you have him. They have tough fixtures coming ahead, but you know, for the season, I think as a 4.0 bench fodder, he's probably a really, really good player. From Liverpool, you know, I'm sure he has great talent as well. So yeah, let me know what you think about this game. Do you think Forest wins again and surprises them? Let's go to the next match. Fulham versus Brentford, the team that surprised us all. I wouldn't say surprised us. I was just reading a stat that in the last game, I think the last time Brentford and United met, Brentford actually had an XG of like 2.8, and this time they had like 1.59 and still scored 4 goals. So I think it was not a surprise it was coming from a time. But yeah, Brentford seemed like a very, very well-oiled machine, making good transfers. I think it's a solid team. I don't see them going down this season. And they play Fulham. Mr. Mitrovic missed a penalty, scored one against Liverpool, missed one against in the next match. Should have been probably yellow or red carded for his foul. On Gibbs White, if any of you watched that. So surprising that he's still playing this match. But we have all tipped Brentford to win here. Priyam with a 1-0 to Brentford, myself to 2-1, and Unmesh 2-1 as well. So yeah, Mitrovic on the cards probably again. Andreas Pereira, I know a lot of us are starting him this week. And so he might be one to watch, see how forward he's playing. I know he's yellow on the app, but I think he's going to start according to the manager press conference. And from Brentford, I'm tipping Tony and Mbeumo. I think Mbeumo, we all know, missed so many chances last season. But I think he'll do well this year. And Tony, I think he's a good striker replacement if you're looking for one up front. Whoever's losing faith in Haaland already, although I wouldn't let you do that. But Tony is a good person up front if you're looking to reshuffle. But yeah, interesting match. Again, should be super boring, you know, on paper. But honestly, this season, again, everything just seems super exciting. So I'm excited to actually watch this one as well. Definitely get a lot of goals in this game. And next game, Leicester versus Southampton. This is an interesting game. I think both managers are walking on thin ice. Both managers are walking on thin ice, and it's going to be interesting to see the outcome here. I don't think I see a clean sheet from either one of them. Whichever team loses, I think they're going to be hearing a lot from the press, a lot from the fan base. If Rodgers does lose, you know, we all know the atmosphere at Leicester is already tough. Like, Fofana's leaving now. I think he's probably going to hand in his transfer request. He said bye last week. I don't think he starts again. He literally said bye at Emirates to all the fans. So yeah, I think if Rodgers loses this game, the fan base might turn on him. So For that reason, I'm actually backing Leicester. I think Leicester are going to run riot. I'm actually predicting that. I'm predicting a 4-2 win to Leicester. So that's a big win. And Priyan predicted 3-1. Unmesh predicting 1-1. Again, as I said, that probably could be very well the way this ends. But for the sake of Rodgers, he's a really good manager. I'm hoping Leicester turn up, and I'm predicting them to win 4-2. Again, as I've said, Hasenhüttl might be the first manager to be sacked, and I think this might be one of the games that would showcase that. And I don't know if any of you remember the iconic 9-0 that Leicester did to Southampton a few years back. Would be nice to see that from a Leicester point of view. But Leicester, again, need to be careful of the players leaving, and Maddison and Fofana. But Fofana's gone now, so... Yeah, let me know what you think of this match. What you think of Rodgers. Do you think Rodgers stays despite if they if they lose? And from a fantasy standpoint, Barnes is back. He's a great player, great fantasy asset, cheap enabler in your midfield. He's one to watch out for. And from Southampton's standpoint, I think both the GWP and KWP, I just did that for the rhyming, but Kyle Walker-Peters, cheap, good to own. Ward-Prowse, again, season ticker, I think he's going to keep scoring. So I think this might be a game, again, for him to score. Leicester, I think, are one of the worst teams from set pieces. So I think Ward-Prowse takes a lot of set pieces for them. So that'd be good to see. But wouldn't be surprised to see a set piece goal. All right, on to the next match. Bournemouth versus Arsenal. Arsenal's been so fun to watch. It has been so much fun to watch. I think Mr. Jesus has summoned himself. He didn't score in the first game, let a lot of people down. But now closing to 80% ownership on fantasy, which is absolutely insane. We have all tipped for Arsenal to win. Priam 4-1. Sorry, it should be read Unmesh. Unmesh 3-1 and myself 3-0. Bournemouth, I don't see anything happening. From Arsenal standpoint, I think Tomiyasu is back this week. And I think that will reduce the amount of effort that Saka has to do in the right back position to cover Ben White. So I think Saka is going to be more playing up front. He's going to now be more involved in his goals and the goals of the team. So I think he's definitely back as a fantasy asset. I know everyone's saying sell Saka for Martinelli. Honestly, if you don't need to, I wouldn't do it this week. See how he plays. I think he might be back this week to his best with Tomiyasu back, if Tomiyasu is starting. And Jesus is a captaincy shot this week. Bournemouth away, good team. The only problem with Arsenal, I just feel like the goals are going to be spread out. Well, Martinelli's playing well again. As I said, Saka's coming in. Xhaka's playing very attacking. So I feel like goals might be spread out. But that being said, it's Bournemouth. I would back Jesus. So who are you captaining? Jesus or Salah? Put in the chat. I'm curious. And that's that for this game. Arsenal fans, I know you're going to be excited and definitely going to be tuning in to see goals galore. Do you think Jesus is actually in the race for the Golden Boot? That's the question I want to see if you guys can tell me. I don't see a reason why he couldn't be. If Haaland's going to lose minutes, 20, 25 minutes every match, City going to share goals with the likes of KDB, Foden, and Gundogan. Do you think Jesus could actually win the Premier League Golden Boot this season? And I see JD is saying Haaland captain. Versus Newcastle, tough game. We'll come to it. We're coming to that game shortly. Let's predict how that's going to go down. The next match, Leeds versus Chelsea. So, I definitely put the wrong numbers in here. I think all of us have tipped for Chelsea to win this game. 3-0. So, I think it's going to be tough for Leeds to come back here. Chelsea had a really, really, really good game against Spurs. I think they play well here. The link-up play between Cucurella and Mount was just amazing to see. And I've actually tipped them both from a fantasy standpoint to do that. So Sterling is also a great differential from a fantasy standpoint. So, that someone as a differential. 10 million now is tough, but he's a good differential to own. Mount, though, he's a stat padder. We all know how he does against bottom table teams. So this might be the match he goes galore in. So keep him in your teams if you have him from a fantasy standpoint. From a watching standpoint as well, I think Mount is going to do really, really well. And I think it'll be tough for Leeds to break down this Chelsea defense. They're looking really good. I know Rodrigo's the top scorer. That being said, I think Chelsea defense is just looking so good. So I'd back them for a clean sheet here. So I think Chelsea clean sheet and Chelsea to win by a good margin. So it'll be interesting. No Tuchel on the touchline though, I think. And that is Chelsea versus Leeds. They're also playing at Leeds, which means Ellen Road. We know the atmosphere is tough. So tough place to play. That being said, though, I still think Chelsea will take it. And Cucurella, I'm watching him. I think I'm buying him after this podcast. 5 million. He looks great. Can play at left centre back, left wing back. So he's a good player to watch as well. The next match we have is West Ham versus Brighton. Ooh, we all have predicted 3 different results here. So Priam has predicted 2-1 to West Ham. Unmesh has predicted 2-1 to Brighton. And I've predicted a draw 1-1. Now, this is very interesting. First of all, I think Antonio needs to be done. I think he needs to sit down. Skamaka looked so good when he came on. He's an absolute unit. Yeah, I would personally, like, if Skamaka plays, get him in your fantasy teams. He looks so good. And last game, I even tweeted this on our 2P's account, that Ben Rahama, I think, is going to be a very good asset this season to own. He played so well against Forest. He missed like 2 chances off the post, taking set pieces as well. He's a great player, great under the radar player. Look out for him. From fantasy standpoint, from Brighton, Pascal Gross is a very popular transfer in this week. He's playing well. Solly March as well. I think he's a good player to own. 5 million, I think, in the midfield. So yeah, those are players to watch out from. From a match standpoint, they're playing at home at West Ham. West Ham haven't come as good as they were in the earlier start of last season. And Brighton looking really good. So I think Brighton full of confidence. It's going to be tough for West Ham to win. That's why I predicted a draw. But yeah, this will be an interesting match. What do you guys think happens in this match? As we can see, we're all broken on who we think will lose or whether it'll be a draw. So let us know what you think in the comments below. On to the next game. JD, I'm sure you'll be interested to hear this one. With City versus Newcastle. They're playing at Newcastle. So Eddie Howe has actually lost every single one of his games against Pep Guardiola. I think they played 10 times and he's lost 10 times, and is the only manager in the world who has lost against Pep 10 times or more consecutively. So he's lost against City, against Liverpool, against Chelsea, against Tottenham. It's tough for them. With Eddie Howe in the dugout, the aggregate score with those teams last season, I think, was about 19-2 in 6 matches. So yeah, I don't think Newcastle does well against the Big Six. So Haaland is a good captaincy shout. I'm not against it. But I personally think that Newcastle have a pretty good defense. And I think now the way City are going to play, it's more so like, score 1 goal, let the team compress, the home team compress, and they'll just like, when they widen up, they'll score 1 more goal, start taking people off, like bench them. They won't really put pressure. Liverpool's dropping points. They don't really need to win with a crazy 5-0, 6-0 goal difference. So I think, honestly, you might see like a 1-0, they score 1 more, and then they sort of just shut them down. So that's what I predicted, 3-0. Could be easily 2-0. But yeah, Unmesh has gone for 2-2 Newcastle, so he's backing Newcastle to do well. That would be interesting to see City drop points. City look like they have no weakness so far, and that's why I think it'll be tough. I think Gumar is going to have a tough game. Last time, I think Saint Maximin had a really rough time against Cancelo, so that's why I'm backing Cancelo to have a good game. I'm also predicting, hot take, that Saint Maximin might be dropped this match. I know he's one of Newcastle's best players, but I think from a tactical standpoint, they're going to bench him because he couldn't handle last time that I watched. I know he was struggling so much against City. And Priam backed City for a 4-1 win. So City to lose the clean sheet. I hope not, because I'm trying to get double up on the defense in fantasy. So which is the player who I've written there, Mr. Ake. I think he's doing so well. City forums are saying really good things about him. So that'll be interesting to watch as well. So I'm backing clean sheet and City to win. The player from looking at Newcastle is Trippier. I think I had him in my team. I still have him. I'm going to remove him very soon. But I want to see how he does against a big team, a team like City. See how well he plays, how attacking he is. That's what I really want to watch. But yeah, what are you guys saying? You think Haaland's worth captaining over Salah or Jesus this week? Let me know. Vasudev says, City will win, but that scoreline is too harsh. Yeah, I feel you. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to run riot. I'm just banking a 3-0 just because I feel like 2-0 is the ideal scoreline, at least. 0-1 as well could be. Yeah, Newcastle's a really good team this year. So yeah, this is the real test for them, City. All right, on to the next match. And the biggest one. Oof. First of all, I love the graphic, please. Like, let me know what you think about that graphic. But Mr. Eric Ten Hag, after a 4-0 loss to Brentford against what could be the best pressing team in Europe right now, or the world for that matter, Liverpool. However, Liverpool are without Matip. No, sorry, I think Matip's playing. No, sorry, they're without Matip, they're without Thiago, without Nunes, without Jota. They're probably a bit weaker than normal, and so that'll be interesting to see. That being said, it is Liverpool. It is United. But Casemiro is in the Premier League. That is an insane signing. I don't think he's available for Monday, but he's a good player. I think my opinion on this transfer, great player. Too expensive for what it is, but I think the money is worth it in the sense that they're going to buy hopes again. They're going to buy hopes from people, the old fans again. So I think that money, for me, just sounds like, they're paying for the fans to have some hope in Ten Hag, give him some time. I'm already seeing Man U people on Twitter saying, oh, this would be the most balanced Man U team and stuff. So I guess no McFred, which is much better. Casemiro is a freaking legend. And, I apologize, by the way. I think the graphic's wrong. It's supposed to be, Liverpool's supposed to be on the right and United's going to be on the left, because I think United's home this week. So it's supposed to be 3-1 to Liverpool, 3-1 to Liverpool to me as well, and Unmesh is predicting 1-1. So apologies for that, JD. But yes, so as you can see, my fantasy, I've predicted 0 people from United, and that's for good reason. But Mr. Salah Mohammed is going to be at the top for me. I think I'm captaining him this week. We saw 5-0 last time, 24-pointer. It wouldn't be crazy for them to repeat that. Luis Diaz scored a great goal, full of confidence, could score another one against United. And TAA, as I was tipping last week as well, with Harvey Elliott in the team, is a much better player. Last week he was playing like a centre midfielder. So definitely a player to watch, definitely a player to have. And that is, I believe, the last match of this week. So I will turn over to the comments now, see if you guys have any questions, and just interact with all of you in the chat. So put anything in the chat that you want to talk about, fantasy point, any questions, or any predictions that you think we might have got wrong. Again, if you're here, this is supposed to be a flipped graphic. It's supposed to be United losing 3-1. I definitely do not back them to win 3-1 against Liverpool. But just reading the chat. Read on Twitter this week, Jesus doesn't score away from home. That'd be interesting. Against Bournemouth, that's a real, if he doesn't do that as well, that thing could go on. Jesus captain all the way. He's the informed player so far. I agree, Branchy. That's what I was asking. Do you think he could actually win the Golden Boot? Do you think he's actually a frontline winner? And Sid Vasudev expected 5-1 or 6-1. I'm just hoping, what's crazy is that there's such big players. You have international players. You have CR7, Varane, Maguire, Shaw. I hate saying Maguire in that list, but these are players who are leading their international teams. I don't know how they're doing. They're not managing to have a lead in the team. Cristiano Ronaldo, for all your goat shots, I don't know why he said that. Oh, I'm going to come talk in 2 weeks. This is not a YouTube video. It's not like and subscribe. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Talk, say what you want to say. Why are you putting an Instagram post for saying 2 weeks later you're going to come out and say what the problem is? But maybe he's looking for a transfer away, hoping low-key for a transfer away. But yeah, I don't know what Man U is doing. It's going to be interesting to see. And Glazer's in. I mean, Casemiro is bought. That's probably a statement signing. The reason they stay inside. And Simran says, when will TA give me returns? I think Man U is the match you can start pad. So I would say TA will give you returns. That being said, you can't remove him. I think he's just too explosive. He's just like a set and forget for me for now. Should I keep Robertson? So I've had this dilemma all week. Robertson or Diaz. And I think for the sake, if you have TA, honestly, I'm selling Robertson. I think after this podcast, I'm going to my team, selling Robertson. There's so many good 5 million midfielders. You have Cucurella, you have Ake, you have Trippier once his fixtures get good. You have Dunk. So I think I am going to sell Robertson. He's a good player. I think he'll get points, but I think team structure-wise probably makes sense to move on from Robertson. Bailey and Neto owners. Sell one or worth the -4. I think down the line, sell both, 100%. There's no reason to keep either or. Neto, I just do want to trust this bracket of 4.5 to 6 million. I don't think it's worth it for me. Again, options, you could move on to Gross. That being said, Gross has barely any good stats. If you look at his season stats from before, he scores 3 goals, 4 goals. He has 87 points in the season. It's tough. It's tough to go down that, trusting it for the long run. That being said, Brighton do have the best fixture ticker from now until game week 8. If you're wildcarding game week 8, I think Brighton midfielders might be a good place to go. That being said, I think try get an 8 million midfielder spot in. You have the likes of Kulusevski, Mount, Diaz, they're doing really, really well. So definitely look at them. Neto has good fixtures coming up, not the worst hold. Yeah, he's not the worst, but it's like, I just don't know how much trust Wolves. Like, they have good XG, but they just suck at scoring goals. Like, they just cannot score goals. So that's going to be tough. I think, so this week, for if anyone cares, my transfers out, I think, are going to be Robertson out, Neto out, and the Bailey price drop just hurt, but I couldn't do anything, and Trippier out. So I'm going to take a -4, and I'm probably getting Cucurella, Ake, and Diaz. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And Siddharth asks, captain choice. I think top 3 captains this week, Salah, Jesus, Haaland. That being said, if we're just going off what Brentford did to to Man U, you have to back Salah. It's just hard going against Salah. But that being said, you can back Jesus. But the thing is, from Erik ten Hag point of view, this has to be the game that United have to come back. This has to be the game that United make a statement and say, we got this. Like, this is the game in front of your home fans against one of your arch rivals. You have to shut them down. So that being said, I would hope, if I was a United fan, like, this is the game that they come back in, which is the only reason I wouldn't want to back Salah. I know with the whole Casemiro signing, I think like there might be some good hope coming back in the team. But still, I think just based off what's happened in the last 2 matches, you have to captain Salah. And hello, what is your suggested 8 million midfielder? Ara asks. Luis Diaz, if you have Liverpool space, I think Luis Diaz is the player to go. Firmino is in. I think Firmino plays more of an architect role, not a scoring goal. So I think Diaz and Salah are going to play more like inside forwards. I think Diaz is the player to go for. Mount against Leeds this week, I'm tipping him to score. I think this is his kind of match if you want to go for a 1-week punt. They have good fixtures, by the way. Chelsea have great fixtures. I think Mount's a player to go for. Kulusevski, I just don't know what's going to happen with Richarlison and Kulu, but I would back Kulu here. Those are my 3 shots for now. And Saka. I also talked about how Saka is going to be much better this time. Going forward now with Tomiyasu back, so he doesn't have to play there, doesn't have to help Ben White in his right back role much, so I think he'll be much more attacking. So if you have an Arsenal spot, I think getting 2 Arsenal attackers is minimum. You have to have Martinelli or Saka and Jesus up front. Saka, captain Kane, Parth Shah. I'll go back to my slide of of Spurs, and I was saying that I think Wolves might be the team that upsets Spurs. So I personally, for my sake of my prediction, I wouldn't back Kane. But Kane, I think, as you can see, on Mish predicted 3-0, Priyan predicted 3-1. I wouldn't be surprised if he does well based on those scores. But my prediction is that he's going to play this architect role again that he played in game week 1 with sort of him playing into Son and Kulu being the runners. So I personally wouldn't back Kane this match. I think I'll go Salah. That being said, there is a case to be made for Kane. Arsenal triple up. Yes, Simran, I totally agree. Siddharth Vasudev, Rodrigo, less than 8 million. Yeah. I'm not sure what Rodrigo's fixtures are ahead of this one. But yeah, I think if he has good fixtures after Chelsea, I would back him. This match specifically, I'm not backing Rodrigo to score. Vasudev says, Da Silva, lucky so far for those 2 goals or a good punt. Oh, 100% he's so lucky. I think his XG was basically nothing. I think he only got the goal against United because of De Gea's mess up. His XG was like 0.000 something, so I wouldn't go for him. Frank even said Damsgaard is starting on the bench. Looks like Da Silva is not first choice. Thoughts? Yeah, I think I wouldn't go for Da Silva. I think now he's 4.6 as well, especially if you're buying now. Save that 0.1. Get like someone like a Reed or Lavia as your 4.5 midfielder instead. If you're getting Da Silva as a bench fodder, sure. If you're getting him as someone you want to bank on playing week in, week out, do not do that. Highly stay away. At Footy Mates, take notes for the upcoming gaming battle. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, so we have a fellow friends who run a channel called Footy Mates. So they have challenged us this week as us versus them. Whoever loses is actually has to like do a forfeit, which we'll disclose later. But yeah, so it's going to be Flowless Sports, which is our channel, versus Footy Mates, and we see whose game week scorer comes on top. So that'll be interesting to see. So we have like a few people in that, and yeah. So Footy Mates, take some notes. I'm helping you guys so much. I'm giving you tips. I've let you know what my team is. So let's see if you can still beat us. But yes. Sid asks Everton versus Forest. Yes, the prediction was this. So Priyaman for 2-2. Unmesh said 1-1. I said 1-0. You can, when the stream goes live, you can see everything that I said. But I was just saying that Goodison Park, I think, is a tough place to play for any team. Everton's home record is really, really good. I think Forest away in their first game were really scrappy. I think what went for them last match was the fact that they were playing at home after 23 years. I think this game is going to be tough for them. I know Everton suck going forward, but I think defensively they'll shut Forest out. So again, I think this is going to be a very low scoring game. At max, maybe you'll see 2 goals. Maybe like a 1-1 scoreline like Unmesh predicted. So that's my prediction for this game. Ara says, what about Gross? I think it's like a trap for game week 3. My prediction for Brighton versus West Ham was 1-1. I think everyone's predicted goals in this game. I think, again, as I said, Pascal Gross, as a season owner, I would not own Pascal Gross. If you want him for a few weeks, 5.6 million, not bad. I think Brighton as a whole is hard to trust, but this season they look really good. So if you're backing them, you're backing the confidence. Pascal Gross is going to be their main output. I think he's on penalties as well, which makes him nice because I think Maupay is gone out. He's going to Forest. So I think Pascal Gross is a good shout in that sense. Henderson, Nico Williams, but I don't see Everton not scoring for 3 game weeks. Yeah, the problem with Everton is like they have a very toothless attack. Gordon's not doing much. Gordon might be linked away to your club, Chelsea, I said. But Henderson had a really, really, really good game last time. I think like 15 points on fantasy as well. His ball distribution is so good. United want to go for Meslier, and they just give up Henderson. Like, I don't understand why they're doing that, how insulting that is. What United is doing, if they didn't do this Casemiro transfer, honestly, their sporting director need to be fired. But Nico Williams, play him this week, 100%. I know I'm backing Everton to score, but that being said, there's a high chance they don't score. And Nico Williams could be involved in a goal if Forest scores. So keep Nico Williams in your start him 100%. If you have Henderson or Nico Williams, start them both. And I think, Sid, you had Henderson, I remember in your team, 15 points. So yeah, keep them. I'll start them both. Raji says, you're so beautiful, can I get your number? My number is 323310. That's my team ID on fantasy. Look it up. Siddharth says, Gordon ain't going anywhere. 45 million in what world? I was reading that Pep Guardiola also touted him as a really good winger and he likes him, and Chelsea also want him. So yeah, I don't know. Market's really inflated for him. He's young as well. I think maybe that's why it's such a high price. But yeah, 45 million for Everton attack, that's tough. Especially when I think he just came into limelight like last season. Umesh asked, case for Cancelo captain. He got more points than any other City player versus Newcastle last season. Yes, as I said, Cancelo wreaked havoc for Newcastle last season. And I think that's why I predicted St. Maximin to actually be benched this week. Because I think Cancelo, he's not going to be able to handle Cancelo on that side. So yeah, Cancelo is a very good captain shot. Because as I said, I think the XG stats for City say like they're going to concede 1 goal every 3 games. Again, this might be the third game. This might be the game that gets scored in. But that being said, the XG is super low. I don't think they've made any mistake yet. Their defense is looking really good. They've signed new players. Stones is fit. Ake is playing really, really well. Ake apparently might be the one to watch this season. So, Cancelo captain, yes, 100%. I know you're United fans, so I think if you don't want to captain Salah against your own team, Cancelo might be a better shout than Haaland. You know what? I'll actually say that. I think Cancelo is a better shout than Haaland this week as a captain shout. So, yeah, that could be nice. Any other questions, let me know in the chat. Any other predictions you think that were too crazy from us, but will be an exciting weekend ahead. I think it's going to be a fun game. Again, I'm going to watch the early kickoff tomorrow. I think Wolves are going to upset Kane, which is going to be so fun to watch. And going to upset Spurs. Perisic is starting. I don't own him. I hope he gets wrecked. Raji asks, Mahrez finally gets a start. I don't know what tactically they're going to set up as, but again with Foden and Grealish, I would back him. If you had him in your team, keep him. I think he'll play. That's, again, I don't have any crazy backing, but I think Foden. I think Pep got pissed at Foden because he didn't pass to Haaland. I don't know if you guys heard that in the press conference, and even touted did that out in the press conference that I don't know why Foden didn't pass it to Haaland, and Foden got subbed at halftime. I'm assuming just because of that. So that was funny to watch. So I don't know if he's going to punish him and keep him out again. In that case, of course, Mahrez will start. So that'll be pretty funny to see. But again, Mahrez is going to get you he'll start 1 game, start 0, start another game. So the good thing with Mahrez, I think, is that what Pep does, he doesn't bring players on always 60th minute. He kind of stays away from that. So if a player's going to start, he's going to play 90. So if I had Mahrez, I'd start him because I'm assuming if he doesn't start, he probably won't come on. Especially now that they have Alvarez and everything. Thoughts on Anthony Taylor getting a statue outside Spurs Stadium? Oh my god, that was such a that was literally he saved them. I think both the goals leading up to them there were problems. I don't know how the Cucurella, like I don't know if any of you watched it, but when was it Bentancur who pulled Cucurella's hair? That was so violent. Like I don't know how he didn't get a red card for that. Anthony Taylor definitely clutched for Spurs there. That was definitely, I think, honestly probably a red card. And the foul leading up to the goal. The problem with that is it was like 45 seconds before, so I think that was too harsh to call it later on. That being said, it should have been called much before, so Anthony Taylor should have called that before. Anyways, we're getting to about 40 minutes. I don't want to make this video too long. If you have anything in the chat, please let me know. Any last comments? Sid asked Romero. Romero's injured. Oh yeah, it was Romero, sorry. Yeah, but Romero is injured this week, and I think is the reason I'm actually backing Wolves to score here. But yeah, Romero was the one who pulled his hair. Good for him that he's out. But yeah, we'll wrap up the video here. Thanks for tuning in. We peaked at almost 30 people live, and I think we have 27 people in the chat. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you had fun. Let me know what you think about the graphics, how I can improve, what you guys would want to see next week, and happy to always answer your questions. There's another comment in the chat. Who should I captain, Jesus, Salah, or Haaland? Pecking order-wise, Salah, Jesus, Haaland. That's the way I'm saying it. I'm even saying Cancelo ahead of Allen. So my top 4, Salah number 1, Jesus number 2, Cancelo number 3, Haaland number 4. That's what I'm going to wrap this video up with as my fantasy captain picks. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. Please drop a like. Please subscribe if you are new. And yeah, again, we'll do this every week. We'll round up as well. We have a lot of other videos. Check us out. We released a new video yesterday for a Guess Who transfer edition. So before you wait for the fantasy matches this week, let us know. And yeah, please like, subscribe, comment, and thanks for tuning in as usual. Appreciate it. Thank you all for in the chat.